My name is Rachel Morgan, I'm 30, and I never expected to hear my mom say, "You're just a babysitter. This isn't your house." If you've ever felt overlooked or betrayed by your own family, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Like this video and subscribe for more stories like this. It happened on a Sunday, the kind where everything feels too still. I was unloading groceries into the kitchen when I overheard Mom talking to a guest in the living room. "She's a huge help with the kids," she said in that syrupy tone she used with strangers. "But she's not involved in any family decisions. She's just the babysitter." The guest mumbled something I couldn't hear. Then my mother laughed. That's all Rachel ever wanted anyway. A quiet life, some kids to watch, nothing complicated. My breath caught in my chest. I wasn't some live-in nanny. This was my home, the one I'd paid the down payment on, the one I managed every day while my sister Brooke found herself in Bali or Morocco or wherever Instagram decided she needed to be next. I walked in, dead quiet. My mom's smile froze when she saw me. "Everything okay?" she asked, too sweet. "I think so," I replied, "just wondering who exactly owns this house." Her cheeks flushed. She changed the subject. Later that night, I went over the contract again, just to remind myself. My name, my signature, my investment, the inheritance from Grandma, which I'd split evenly with my parents to help them qualify for the loan. Brooke didn't contribute a cent. She was busy shopping for silver Birkenstocks, but when the house was finished, she moved in temporarily after another failed relationship, and then she never left. My parents insisted it was temporary, that she needed support, and that I should be kind because she was going through so much. I cooked. I cleaned. I did preschool drop-offs for her twins when she wanted to sleep in. I never even touched the master bedroom. I let her have it because it had more sunlight, and because I stupidly thought it'd earn me something. It didn't. Instead, she got the bedroom, the glory, and apparently now the title of real daughter, while I got called the babysitter. That night, I sat on my mattress in the smaller room and stared at the contract again. They thought I didn't care about titles, that I was too quiet to speak, too small to fight back. They were wrong. I didn't cry. I wrote down 3 steps, and I was going to follow each one. I didn't always know I was the background character in my own family. That realization came slowly, like watching your shadow shrink while someone else steps into the sun. Growing up, Brooke was the whirlwind, and I was the wall she bounced off of. She was loud, messy, and beautiful. I was quiet, tidy, and invisible. In middle school, she failed math. They hired her a tutor and blamed the teacher. When I got straight A's, Dad said, "That's great, Ratch. Can you help Brooke with hers?" At Brooke's 13th birthday party, Mom hired a magician, rented a bounce house, and invited every kid in our district. For mine, a cake and a "we'll do something bigger next year." We never did. I learned early that if Brooke screamed, the world shifted. And if I stayed silent, people called me mature. By high school, I stopped asking. When I got accepted into NYU on partial scholarship, they said it was too far, too expensive, too risky. But when Brooke dropped out of college after 1 semester and wanted to backpack across Thailand, they pulled money from their retirement to support her journey. "She's finding herself," Mom said. I was 19, working full-time and taking night classes at the local community college. I sent most of my paychecks home. Brooke sent postcards. One had a monkey on it and said, "Thinking of you all." She never sent one just to me. And that was the pattern. Brooke was the golden child. Even when she wrecked the car, "It's just a car, Rachel." Even when she screamed at Mom during dinner, "She's under stress. Be patient." Even when she left her toddlers at home while she went just down the block to meet a guy. Don't be dramatic. She was gone 5 minutes. I raised those twins more than she did. They cried for me at night, not her. I read them bedtime stories, cut their grapes in half, helped them memorize letters, while she recharged in her room with noise-canceling headphones and a glass of wine. Still, when the guests came over, "She's an amazing mother," Mom would beam. and Rachel helps with the errands. No one ever asked what I did for a living. No one ever asked how I managed a remote marketing consultancy, paid utilities, and still had time to put everyone else's needs before mine. Because I didn't flaunt it. And that was my mistake. I thought they'd notice on their own. I thought loyalty and love would be enough. But in our house, noise got attention. And silence got forgotten. Until that Sunday. Until my mother said, "She's just the babysitter." Something in me broke. Not all at once. It cracked like old porcelain. Tiny fractures reaching into every memory I once thought was normal. They had conditioned me to accept crumbs and thank them for the meal. But not anymore. The steps I wrote that night weren't just revenge. They were my blueprint for survival. Step 1. Gather every document. Step 2. Move my savings, protect my assets. Step 3. Restructure the deed. I had power. They just didn't know I was ready to use it. The tipping point came quietly. Not with a shout. Not with a slammed door. It came on a Wednesday around 6:30 p.m. as I was plating dinner. Brooke strolled into the kitchen in silk pajamas, the expensive kind I knew she didn't pay for, and said, "Oh, by the way, we'll need the house next weekend." "We?" She rolled her eyes. "Me and Logan. His parents are flying in from Denver. They'll be staying in the guest room." "The one I sleep in? Come on, Rach. It's just for the weekend. You can crash at Lisa's or something." Lisa was my friend. My space wasn't hers to negotiate. But Mom walked in just then and chimed in like it was already decided. "It's just one weekend, sweetie. Be supportive." I stood there holding a plate of roasted chicken I'd cooked for everyone. "Do I live here or not?" I asked. Brooke raised an eyebrow. "You're overreacting. You're not on the mortgage." I met her eyes. "I am on the deed." She blinked. Mom's face stiffened. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "I added myself to the deed after the last refinance," I said quietly. "Legally, I co-own this house." It was true. A month earlier, when interest rates dropped, I had negotiated a refinance deal. Brooke hadn't even known. Neither had Mom or Dad. They just signed where I told them to. Too used to me handling all the boring stuff. "I wanted protection," I continued, "in case something like this happened." Brooke's voice shot up. "You're lying. That's manipulative. That's not how families work." "Funny," I said. "Because calling your sister the babysitter, that's not how families work either." She looked to Mom for backup. But Mom stayed frozen. Then Brooke scoffed and stormed off. That night, Dad called. He said I'd embarrassed them. That I should have discussed it first. That I was acting like a stranger. That line stuck with me. Like a stranger. I guess that's what happens when someone finally puts up a boundary in a house that thrives on them being boundaryless. The next morning, Brooke left with the twins. She said she needed space to heal. Mom sulked. Dad went quiet. No one asked how I was feeling. No one thanked me for cleaning up the kitchen or for keeping the lights on. That weekend, I made my decision. No more shared groceries. No more shared bills. No more being everyone's emotional safety net. I contacted a lawyer to finalize a co-ownership agreement, clear boundaries, enforceable terms, and a clause that allowed for buyout negotiations if things became toxic, which they already were. I packed a bag and left for 3 days, just to see what would happen. No calls, no texts. When I came back, the trash hadn't been taken out, the fridge was nearly empty, and there were dishes in the sink from 3 days ago. Mom said, "We didn't know what to do without you." And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel flattered. I felt used. That was the breaking point. Not the words, not the fights, but the silence. Their helplessness when I wasn't there, and their complete lack of concern when I was. I wasn't their daughter. I was their system. And systems get replaced, but I wasn't going to let them discard me. Not anymore. I didn't make a dramatic exit. No suitcase thrown into the trunk. No final speech at the dinner table. Just a firm knock at Brooke's bedroom door. She opened it with a sigh. "What now?" "I'm offering you an option," I said calmly. You can buy me out of the house, or I'll sell my share to someone who will. Her eyes narrowed. You wouldn't. Already spoke to a lawyer. Her jaw twitched. I handed her a printed document, a formal notice of intent to sell my 50% share of the property. It was real, not a threat, not a tantrum, just a quiet fact with legal weight. Behind me, I heard Mom say, "You wouldn't tear this family apart over a title." "I'm not," I replied. "You did that when you told people I was just the babysitter." For weeks, they ignored me, until I CC'd them on the legal inquiry letter to a property investor, a woman I knew from a networking circle who bought partial stakes in homes. Suddenly, Brooke wanted to talk things through. She cried in the living room, said she didn't mean what she said. Blame stress, the twins, her ex. Mom begged me to reconsider. But the thing about boundaries is, once you've set them, really set them, you see through every manipulation. I didn't yell, I didn't gloat. I simply said, "You have 30 days to make an offer." Brooke called her ex, asked him for help. He declined. Then she called her influencer friends. They ghosted her. I guess when your online persona is a free-spirited mom living off love, it's hard to explain needing $250,000 in a hurry. On day 27, Dad called, said he could offer $80,000. I didn't laugh, but it was close. "This isn't charity," I told him. "It's equity." Brooke tried to guilt-trip me, reminded me of the times I played dolls with her, the years I read bedtime stories to her kids. I said, "That was love. What you did was theft." On day 30, I sent a signed agreement to sell my share to the investor. It wasn't just about the money. It was about detaching physically, legally, emotionally. They panicked, called the investor, begged her not to go through with it. She politely declined. A month later, the paperwork was finalized. Brooke moved out. She blamed everyone but herself. Mom and Dad followed her to a cramped condo they could barely afford. They still hadn't processed that I wasn't coming with them. I bought a townhouse in a quiet neighborhood, 2 zip codes away. 3 bedrooms. All mine. No secrets. No shifting definitions of family. No one calling me the babysitter. Just Rachel Morgan, homeowner, businesswoman, healer of her own wounds. The day I moved into my townhouse, it rained. Soft, steady, like the universe was rinsing away the residue of a decade I should have walked away from years ago. I carried in the final box myself, a worn cardboard one marked Rachel's Things, Attic. Inside were forgotten fragments, childhood journals, report cards no one celebrated, photographs where I was always slightly off-center. I set the box on the hardwood floor and left it unopened. I wasn't that girl anymore. The house felt quiet in the best way. No kids crying. No music blaring from someone else's room. No footsteps that didn't belong to me. Just the gentle hum of space I earned. I lit a candle, made tea, and for the first time in my adult life, I let myself rest. But peace has a strange way of attracting curiosity. 3 weeks after I moved, I got a call from Brooke's ex, Justin. We'd never been close, but he was always polite. "Hey," he said, voice low. "Mind if I ask you something?" "Sure." "Is it true you own part of the old house?" "Used to," I said. "I sold my share." He whistled. "She's telling people you stole it, that you tricked your parents into signing something." I paused. Of course she was. I have the full paper trail, Justin. Contracts, recorded calls, bank transfers. Want a copy? He hesitated. "I believe you. Just thought you should know." I thanked him, hung up, then smiled. It wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. It was about reclaiming the narrative. So I wrote an email to the twins' preschool director, a kind woman I'd met during pickup runs. I let her know Brooke would no longer be using my address for their enrollment. Then I forwarded a notarized letter to my parents. One line, "Please remove my name as emergency contact for any of Brooke's affairs." I wasn't her handler. I wasn't their safety net, not anymore. A week later, Brooke showed up at my new place, unannounced. I didn't answer the door. She stood there in the rain, holding a soaked envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. 4 pages, half apology, half guilt trip. The last line stuck with me. You were always the boring one, but you never stopped winning. I folded it once, set it aside. Didn't cry, didn't rage, just poured myself another cup of tea and went back to work. Because she was wrong about one thing. I didn't win by being boring. I won by being consistent, by surviving what should have broken me, and by finally understanding that being overlooked doesn't make you invisible. It makes you underestimated. And sometimes that's the most powerful position of all. In the months that followed, I started to breathe differently, slower, deeper, like my body had been holding tension for 30 years and was only now learning what freedom tasted like. I decorated my townhouse in silence, chose soft wood tones and deep greens, nothing flashy, the kind of home that held peace like a secret. I adopted a rescue dog, Scout. He followed me everywhere, loyal in a way my family never was. Every morning I walked him through a quiet park where no one knew my last name or what I had escaped. It felt like starting over without having to forget. And then, just when things began to settle, I got a call from my Aunt Denise. She was the one person in the family who had always treated me with quiet kindness, never picked sides, but never ignored injustice either. Your mom's been telling people you tricked them out of the house, she said. I sighed. Of course she is. I just wanted you to know I don't believe a word of it. And your grandma wouldn't have either. That name hit me like a weight. Grandma Ellen, the only person who ever made me feel seen. The woman who left me the inheritance that helped pay for the original down payment. The money my parents had accepted like it was theirs to manage. I looked up at the framed photo of Grandma in my office. Her eyes twinkled even in stillness. I whispered, I used it well. After that call, a ripple went through the extended family. Cousins reached out, some cautiously, some boldly. They'd heard rumors, seen Brooke's meltdown on social media, and wanted the truth. I didn't give them the drama they were hoping for. I sent them a PDF, a clean, chronological breakdown of the timeline, with contracts, emails, and screenshots. No commentary, just facts. And facts, when served cold, are their own kind of justice. A few apologized. Most stayed silent. But I didn't need validation anymore. That's what surprised me most. I had spent years starving for acknowledgement, aching for someone to say, you were right. But peace made praise unnecessary. I was rebuilding my life with bricks they'd tried to break. My consultancy expanded. I landed 2 new clients through a women-owned business referral network. And when they asked why I named my business foundations first, I just smiled. Because that's what I had learned to do, lay my own foundation, brick by patient brick. Without applause, without shortcuts, without needing a single one of them. The twins' birthday came and went. I didn't send gifts. Didn't call. Not because I didn't love them, but because love requires boundaries. And if Brooke wanted to rewrite the narrative, she could live with the ending too. It's been almost a year now. 12 months of silence. 12 months of no late-night phone calls, no can you just messages, no sudden emergencies where I was expected to drop everything. 12 months of choosing myself. At first, the quiet felt unnatural, like something was missing. But slowly, the absence of chaos started to feel like relief. Like clarity. Like healing. I didn't block anyone. I didn't change my number. I just stopped responding to dysfunction. The difference? Ooh. They noticed, and they didn't like it. But I wasn't performing anymore. Not for their approval, not for scraps of gratitude, not for the illusion of family unity. My parents sent a holiday card this year, the kind you print from an online template. They signed it, with love, from all of us. No names, no personal note, just a photo of Brooke and the twins in front of a fake Christmas tree in a rental condo. I put it in a drawer, didn't throw it away, didn't display it either. That drawer was full of quiet endings, letters, photos, receipts. Evidence of a version of me who kept waiting for something better from people who only took. But that version is gone now. Last week, I hosted a dinner in my home. 8 women, all entrepreneurs, all self-made, all carrying their own stories of being overlooked. We laughed. We planned. We supported each other without condition. After dessert, one of them pointed to the framed quote on my wall and smiled. It read, "She wasn't asking for power, she was building it quietly." That's what I'd done, not out of revenge, not even out of anger, but because I finally realized I deserved to live without apology. To build a life where I wasn't just anything, not just the babysitter, not just the quiet one, not just practical. I was Rachel Morgan, co-owner, then sole owner, then founder, daughter perhaps, but not at the cost of myself. And if they ever decide to remember me differently, I hope they at least remember this. I didn't need to raise my voice, because my signature spoke loud enough. Have you ever had to walk away from people you once called family? Drop your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about reclaiming your power. Send this to someone who needs to know they're not alone.